Well, heidi ho, my peeps. I am so glad to see you tonight and be here to give you my update across multiple subjects in my life right now. Um, so let's just jump into it. Update number one is my weight. As you guys, a lot of you know, I started this Ozempic weight loss experience on June 6th. December 6th, it will be 6 months, and I have lost, as of today, a total of 60 pounds. Go me! I'm so proud. Now, that proud is mitigated a little bit by the fact that I'm giving the kudos to Ozempic for being there to help me not be hungry and to not um, binge or have like food noise in my head and all of that. It's been a it's been a learning experience in some ways because I've had to learn how to eat appropriately, and what that means to me is how to stock my shelves with foods that I know how to cook, that I will eat, like hard boiled eggs I love, raisins I don't, that kind of thing, as well as to adjust my mindset to think of food almost exclusively as fuel. However, I have planned all along the way and executed um, uh, social events where food is part of the social event. For example, I navigated my grandson's gender reveal and Thanksgiving, and Grant and I have gone out to dinner a couple of times, and um, I went out of town with Gracie. We went to Sacramento for her regular cancer surveillance, which is coming out good. And I was smart enough to bring some protein bars, but I made it through that, 36-hour day without binge eating, doing anything crazy, you know, um, staying within my eating plan, even though we ate at restaurants the whole time. Um, so I'm making a lot of headway in terms of sustainable food behavior that will take me past my um, the weight loss portion of all of this into the maintenance portion. And I'm working hard on doing that part because when you read about what happens to people when they stop taking Ozempic, they will often gain all their weight back and more. And it's primarily because they haven't cemented the new eating habits. And so that's something that for the next 6 months or however long I'm going to be on this before I can say, okay, I've reached a sustainable weight. For that time, I'm going to continue to work on food behavior. For example, I've been doing a lot of, well, low carb slash keto cooking, although I'm not on a keto diet. I'm not putting myself into ketosis or anything like that. I guess the best way to say it is that I control my portions to keep them small. I take a look at calories, and I have eliminated sugar, just eliminated it. But I eat protein, and I eat a moderate amount of fat in the form of butter or oils or whatever fat happens to be in the food that I'm cooking. Um, and all of that, doing all of those things in balance is what has enabled me to lose this weight. And so I'm going to continue doing that. I've had so much fun baking sugar-free stuff, and also I don't have a problem with wheat, but it does have a lot of carbs in it, so I'm doing a lot of wheat-free baking as well, using almond flour, coconut flour, bamboo fiber, believe it or not, oat fiber, different combinations of those things depending on the recipe. For sweetener, I tend to stick with allulose, although I use a little microscopic little spoonful of monk fruit powder in my coffee in the morning. And then I use milk or cream or half and half, whatever we happen to have lying around, in it as well. Um, so so I'm learning how to bake alternatively. Some of my favorite recipes that I've followed so far. There's a chocolate chip cookie recipe I love, and I'm going to be in the next batch. I'm going to be adding sugar-free, freeze-dried marshmallow bits. I can't wait to see what those turn out like. I'm sure they'll turn out good. I also made for Thanksgiving. I made pedophores. Now, for those of you who don't know what those are, they're little pieces of cake about the cubes about an inch by an inch by an inch. You slice them in the center and you fill them with something, often jam, a raspberry jam or a strawberry jam, both of which I have made sugar free, so I've got them waiting for me in my fridge. Um, this this first time I made the pedophores, though, I filled them with a sugar-free caramel that I had made that didn't firm up real well, so I figured it would make a real good like cake filling, or something that it was okay if it spread around. So that worked really well. And then I made a glaze, a raspberry flavored glaze with a sugar substitute that is primarily xylitol. I don't like it because it is has a cooling effect in your mouth. I don't like it. So the next time I do a glaze, I will definitely do it with allulose. I don't notice that weird cool aftertaste with allulose. Anyway, and then I turned them upside down and I dunked them in a little bit of chocolate. So there's chocolate at the top and then the raspberry glaze at the bottom. Adorable. They really looked cute. In addition to that, I have cracked the code on sugar-free caramels. I'm I cook up the caramel on the stove, and I pour it into 1 inch by 1 inch by half-inch silicone mold that has, I don't know, it's got maybe 2 dozen cavities in this mold. And so I pour that in, and before it starts to harden, I drop in 2 or 3 whole hazelnuts. That goes into the freezer. It freezes rock hard. I pull that out, and then I dip the whole thing in uh, uh, melted sugar-free chocolate chips. I usually mix up some semi-sweet chips with some milk chocolate chips. Melt that, dunk them in, pull them out with a fork, and stick them on a cooling rack, so the extra chocolate will drip, down. And they make, I mean, it sees candy worthy. It's that good. The interesting thing about them, though, is when I've got some in the fridge and it's like, oh man, I would love some caramels, I'll eat one, sometimes two. If I make it through 2 of these caramels, I can feel my "you're done with sweet stuff" response just sort of welling up. It's like, I'm done. I am satisfied with sweet. So so they last a long time, and when I do make them, I generally don't eat them daily. So a batch of caramel will last me at least a week, sometimes longer. Another thing I've made is, and this stuff is stellar. It is so good. Very dense, chocolatey, chewy brownies with a melted topping of sugar-free chocolate chips. I you, they are very big. I cut them into maybe 1 inch by 2 inch square rectangles, and getting through one of those is hard. They are so dense and the chocolate is so rich. And they are sugar free and low carb. So boy, have I had fun discovering the cheat goodies. It's been great. Um, so that's where I am with my food and with my weight loss. Um, my lab numbers are coming back wonderful. My I don't know if how many of you guys get your A1C checked every once in a while. That's sort of your historic marker for your blood sugar, and those diabetics usually get it checked every 3 to 6 months. Well, it had been about, I don't know, May, I think was the last time I had mine checked, and it was pushing 10. It was 9 point something up towards 10, which isn't good. I got it checked this time and it was 5.6. So I am almost down under the diabetic number of 5. They like to see your A1C below 5. So I attribute it to several things. One, the sugar free cooking I've been doing. And two, I've been so much more active on my feet, walking distances that I haven't walked in years, like before the pandemic, kind of forever ago. It's been that long since I've been able to, park in the middle of the parking lot at Kaiser, which is where my medical offices are, walk across the parking lot, across, down the foyer, up the elevator, down the corridors, and turn around and come back and do the whole thing without being in pain. My hips don't hurt, my feet don't hurt. Sometimes I'm out of breath a little bit, but I can just feel the health coursing through my veins as I do some of this very, now it's quite unfamiliar activity. Before I started doing all of this, back during the pandemic, and even before, I spent most of my time either in my recliner or in my little wheelie chair cleaning the kitchen from a sitting position, or sitting in the car while Grant and I did some errands, and he would go in and he would pick up the mail and he would deposit my check for me and he would do the shopping and blah blah blah, and I would sit in the car. Well, those days are over, and it still feels like a dream that I'm up and walking. And it's funny, a friend of mine from back east, my dear and beloved sweet Brenda, who I visited when I did my cross country trip, she had lost a bunch of weight. And I remember her telling me about how being up on her feet and not in her chair all the time, how it felt remarkable. It felt so good. And I remember her being so pleased by that change. And that's how I feel, just pleased by that change. So that's that. Also, my gout marker, which is uric acid, my uric acid had been up around 11. Now it's 3.3, which is at the low end of normal. So, and then all of my other blood markers looked great except my white blood cell count. There were a couple of the differentiated blood cells, white blood cells that were high. And I believe that's because I'm having what it feels like garden variety arthritis in my feet. So I still need to have that checked out, make sure I'm right, and that it's not some other scary thing. But, I get in this hot bathtub, I soak my feet, my beloved Grant gives me a good foot rub before I go to sleep, and I'm good to go. I put on my Hoka sneakers, my Speed Goat 5s, and I just, I walk through my day. And I'm pushing myself a little bit too. It used to be when the day was over and it was time to close our front gate to our property, Grant would run out and do it. Now I'm doing that more myself. If I drive in at day's end, I get out of the car, I close the gate that I park. I know that sounds like a really small thing, but it's a huge thing for me, and I'm just so happy to be able to do it now. Um, there's all sorts of other weird little non-scale victories that I've been having. One of them is I fit in a restaurant booth now. I'm not afraid to walk into any restaurant and be seated because I know even in a restaurant where the booth's tiny, I can get back there. I'm not afraid of um, being where there are a lot of people, like going to see a movie. I'm fine with that. That used to cause a lot of anxiety. Um, I've noticed, like, even in this tub, it feels different because I don't take up as much space from side to side. So I can, I can feel that I can just barely touch the sides of the tub when when I move back and forth. Um, it took me a long time to see any of this in the mirror. I didn't see any differences until last week. And I always look in the mirror right before I get my shower, naked as the day I was born, just to look at the horror, right? Well, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, okay, now, where did those folds of empty skin come from? Because that used to be all full. I looked like an overfed French bulldog before. Now I look like a Shar puppy that somebody's put on a diet. I mean, even my face is beginning to hang, and my neck. I have Mitch McConnell neck, and you can't really tell how bad it is because I've got my head back. But when I'm up, it hangs in these pleated folds, right? It's like, oh my God, I am gonna look so scary when this is done. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. If if there's anything on my body that I simply cannot live with, I will sell something and I will go have it hacked off and pinned up, and I will be fine. So I doubt that I'm going to feel the not compulsion but the necessity to do that. I don't think that's going to happen to me. Luckily I don't have lymphedema, so I don't have places where my arms, legs, or body fill up with water weight. So as I'm losing weight, the skin is getting closer to the muscles and is definitely beginning to sag. And when this is all over, I promise you guys I will do, what do they call them? A skin video, a skin flick, something like that. It's where you show, okay, I'm down to, 160 pounds or whatever it is. I'm not going to lose anymore, but get a load of this. And then out comes the skin out from their, tight little Spanx leggings that they're wearing, and it hangs down to their knees. And they laugh and they're happy because it means that they've regained their health, and it's really a badge of pride. So, even though it's a little freaky, it isn't freaking me out the way I thought it was going to. So those are some non-scale victories. Another one is I can feel bones I couldn't feel before. I was doing something with my necklace. I'm like, what is that? Is that like a lymph node? And then I'm like, no, I've got the same thing over here, and okay, I've got something here and something here and something here, and I realize I'm just feeling the beginnings of bones that I haven't felt in years. So that's been interesting. Um, so that's where I'm at with the whole weight loss and all of that stuff. I haven't started doing a dedicated exercise, but I will. And when I do, Grant brought home what do you call those things? A stair climber that was somebody was giving it away off the side of the road. It's manual, but it's very beefy. So there's nothing to plug in. So I'll have that station. Then I'll have my vibratory platform that he bought me a long time ago that has like stretchy arm things that are part of it. You stand on it and do these exercises. And then I also got a Pilates bar with the bands, the stretch bands. So I think doing those three exercise stations for 30 minutes, 3 times a week to start out, see how that feels. My neighbor's going to come over and do it with me, so that will be fun. We'll, we'll come up with a playlist of music that lasts for 30 minutes and we'll do our exercises to the playlist and, you know, take care of it that way. So I'm looking forward to getting that started, and I will be doing that sometime between this weekend, which is the quinceanera on Saturday, and Christmas. Sometime in that time frame, I'll finish setting up the exercise station. So I'm looking forward to that because my body's beginning to want to move around more than it did before. So I'm ready. I'm definitely ready. Um, so that covers all of those things. My daughter-in-law is doing very well with her pregnancy. She's um, she's remaining fit. She's not trying not to eat or anything, but she's not overeating either. She's eating enough. And of course, she'll put on most of her weight at the end of the pregnancy, but she's healthy, according to her and the OBGYN and all of that. So that's exciting. I'm going to one of those um, ultrasound places where I forgot what they're called. But you go in and you pay them, I don't know what it is, $100 or whatever, and your friends and family can sit in a little theater thing, and you're on the other side, and the ultrasound tech is putting images of baby up on a big screen. So that's going to be really fun. I this is the first one of those I've been invited to, so I'm real excited. Um, so far so good. He looks perfect. Um, Christmas is going to be very low key at our house. My younger son and his bride to be will be in Oregon with her family, and my older son and I have decided that we are going to take Christmas Day and spend it together, just the two of us. I'm going to go over to his apartment. We'll have a fire in the wood stove. We'll watch movies, sit around in our jammies. I will have made something and brought it over, some sort of dinner, and then he's requested all of the low carb, sugar free treats that I've made because he's tasted all of those and he loves them too. So I'll make a selection of those, and we're just gonna chill, just the two of us for a few hours, and that. I'm really looking forward to that. I love spending time with my son. He's so smart and interesting, and we have a lot of the same um, just general interests. So he's fun to talk to, and I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I'll spend time with Grant on Christmas as well. But I want to carve out a few hours where it's just me and my son. So that is almost all the news. No, there's a little bit more news. Um, when I went with Gracie for her surveillance exam, I was sitting out in the very tiny waiting room in the women's reproductive cancer office. There's only four chairs, and then there's a big, huge hallway, and you can sit out there if you want. But there are four chairs in this small waiting room. And I come in and I sit down, and I was the only one. Then another lady comes, and she was wearing a mask, so sat far away from me. And then after a bit, two more ladies come in. One an elderly woman, very fit and hearty, elderly woman in her 80s. Um, you could tell this woman will brook no shenanigans from anyone. I just immediately left her, just kind of eavesdropping on her conversation with her friend who's in her 50s, another woman, and they live in the area somewhere. And the other woman had this aura that I felt. It's like hit me in the face just looking at her. She hadn't said a word, and I got this feeling of, I really want to get to know you. I want to know what's going on with you. I felt this, you know how you feel that sometimes with people, just this instant attraction. So she began speaking with her companion, the lady who was now sitting between me and them. She had made a few comments. I made a few comments. And within 15 or 20 minutes, the four of us had become best friends. We had told stories about our lives. We laughed about stuff. We had cried about stuff. It was a phenomenal experience. And by the time we all, wandered out about the same time, um, we were hugging each other goodbye and exchanging, Facebook information, exchanging phone numbers. I mean, it was the sort of thing that never happens to me because I tend to be I tend to carry myself within myself when I'm in public. I don't talk to people much. I'm not out looking for friends. I don't socialize outside of the one or two people I might be with. Um, but boy, was this a reversal of that. So, we've sent, we've texted back and forth. We've looked at one another's Facebook, and we're kind of getting to know one another that way. And uh, so I'm going to, Renee, if you made it this far through the video, I am dedicating this video to you and Lori and Jean, who I hope we someday get to run into again. Because you guys, you were a attitude adjustment that I needed so badly that day, and I'm still carrying it with me tonight as I talk to all my beloved peeps on YouTube. So, thank you for being you, and I have a feeling that we have a long and lovely friendship rolling out in front of us. And I know you were going to keep me up on Lorette. I don't think she does social media, so you know, tell her I'm thinking about her and I thought she was just delightful, just as you are. And so, yeah, so I'm dedicating this to my new friends. So, that is all the news that is fit to print tonight. And I will come back and talk to you guys again. Bye.